Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Fikrat. This video continues video series dedicated to learning Microsoft Fabric, and today we are starting a new discussion around real-time analytics services in Microsoft Fabric. Let me bring a quick overview of the topics that I'm going to cover today. We'll start with the overview of all streaming services in Microsoft Fabric, where I'll describe different tools that are available both from Synapse engineering workload as well as real-time analytics in Microsoft Fabric. Next, we're going to talk about different components of real-time analytics. So we'll talk about KQL or Kusto database. Then we'll talk about event stream pipelines. In the demo section of this session, we're gonna create KQL database. Then we'll create event stream pipeline to ingest sample data into the Lakehouse. Next, we're gonna create another event stream pipeline to ingest from Azure Event Hub into KQL database. Next, we're going to move to KQL database, where I'll show simple querying techniques, and then I'll show how to create ingestion pipeline to ingest the data from Event Hub. Then I'll also show how to create OneLake shortcuts to refer the table in Lakehouse. A quick reminder before we proceed, if you are new to the channel, please subscribe so that you could always receive my latest videos. Let's get started. Let's talk about different tools and services that are available in Microsoft Fabric to create streaming pipelines. On a high level, you can use Synapse data engineering and real-time analytics workloads to create low latency streaming pipelines. So within Synapse data engineering, you can use Spark notebooks and the different flavors of languages that are available within these notebooks, and use Spark structured streaming libraries to create streaming pipelines. That obviously represents a code first experience. So if you're comfortable with coding, so that's probably path you can take. I have a few videos describing this experience, so take a look if you are interested to learn more. And then within real-time analytics workload, there are different services as well. So you can use KQL database to create low latency database, very performant database, where you can ingest data directly. And then you can use event streams, which allows you to build pipelines without coding. What is KQL? KQL is NoSQL database that allows you to store and process real-time streaming as well as big data in Microsoft Fabric. So it can store both structured and semi-structured data like JSON. It can use Kusto and SQL languages for querying and transformations. For folks who are familiar with Azure Data Explorer, there are lots of similarities with this database and Azure Data Explorer. So both of them are based on Kusto language, which is very powerful and flexible language. There are multiple ways to ingest data into KQL database. First, and probably the easiest way, is to use OneLake shortcuts to refer to OneLake tables, so Lakehouse tables. You don't even need to break the data because you can simply refer to them using shortcuts as if they are sitting locally. Then you can create one-time pipelines using UI from KQL. You can also create one-time pipelines to ingest data from Azure Storage and Amazon S3 storage. Then you can create continuous streaming pipelines from Azure Event Hubs. Last, you can use event stream pipelines, which we are going to talk about in shortly. Then there are also some batch pipelining options as well. So you can use data pipeline and the data flow Gen 2 pipelines to ingest in the KQL. Once you have data in your KQL database, you can use KQL query sets, which are like stored procedure, to transform and store your queries. You can use Power BI visualization to consume the data directly from KQL database. And then you can use Lakehouse shortcuts to refer to KQL data from Lakehouse. And then if needed, you can also use data flow Gen 2 to ingest data from KQL and write it to some other data locations. So what is event stream in Microsoft Fabric? Event streams represent a no-code experience which allows you to create streaming pipelines using intuitive, easy to understand graphical interface. Of course, you can use native language to include certain expressions as you ingest your data. Your pipelines may have multiple inputs and outputs. So I have sample diagram showing the pipeline with multiple inputs and outputs. So event stream pipelines also allow certain transformations. You can filter your data, apply some aggregation as you ingest. In terms of inputs, so you can read the data from Azure Event Hub and IoT Hub. You can also use a sample data for ingestion, which is useful for learning perspective. And then you can also use a custom, so you can build your custom application to send your data directly to event stream pipelines. In terms of outputs or sinks, so event stream can write in the Lakehouse. It can also write in the KQL database. Custom application is another destination. Finally, you can write in the Reflex destination. So the Reflex is a destination associated with Data Activator service in Microsoft Fabric. So this service allows you to react to the change in your data and do perform some actions. So, for example, using Data Activator, you can inform certain users about the change in your data. So you can set certain threshold, and whenever that threshold in your data passes, then you can either send notifications, or you can run a Power Apps application that can perform certain actions. All right, let me demonstrate some of the tools and the artifacts that are part of real-time analytics. I am in Microsoft Fabric's home page, and I select the real-time analytics workloads. From here, I have a few buttons available under the new section. I can create either KQL database or query sets. I can also create event stream pipeline. Finally, I can use a sample button that will provide sample data, as well as easy to follow instructions to learn Kusto language. Okay, let me start by creating a KQL database. So I'm gonna name this database as my first KQL. That will open a KQL database page. I'm gonna come back to this page a little later, but for now I'll move to home page. Now let me create event stream pipeline. And I'll name this as a sample event stream. Okay, so while Fabric is creating a new event stream pipeline. Let me describe the panels here. On the left hand side we have source and the destination panel. So any source and destinations that you will be creating will be added here. At the top we have new source and the destinations buttons. At the bottom we have data preview and data insights, which I'm gonna come back a little later. And at the center we have a design canvas for event stream pipeline. The first step in creating pipeline is to add a source, and there are multiple ways of doing that. You can do it either from here or from here. I'm going to use this button, and from here we have 4 choices. I'm going to use a sample data option, and I'll need to name this. So I'll name this source DC, and then I can select from 3 available data sources. I'm going to use stock market and hit add. Okay, let me add a destination to my pipeline. So I'm going to click new destination and I will select Lakehouse. So I'm going to add 2 destinations, and my first destination is going to write into Lakehouse. So let me name this destination data source. And then I need to select workspace. My Lakehouse, I'm going to use bronze Lakehouse that I created earlier. As for Delta Lake, I can use either existing tables or create a new one. I'm going to use a create new button, and I will name my table. I can also add some transformation to my pipeline, but for now I'll just keep it simple and hit add. Adding destination will take some time. While it's running, let me show you bottom panel. So this content of this panel will change as I select different objects. So let me just first select source, and it will show you my source name and the nature of my source. It says source sample data. If I open data preview, it will show you a sample of my data. As you can see, it's in a tabular format, even though the original data was in a JSON format. So event stream will convert JSON, at least first level of JSON, to tabular format, and you don't need to do anything about that. Okay, my destination have been added, and you can see that it's in a status, it says ingesting, which is a good sign, and my source is also says streaming, and the colors also indicates that everything is good. So if it's green, then it means that ingestion going well. Okay, now let me add another destination for this pipeline, and this time I'm going to use KQL database. Just like with Lakehouse destination, you can either have direct ingestion or do some pre-processing before writing. I'm going to use a direct ingestion, and I will name my destinations data source. And then I'll select my workspace and the KQL database that I created earlier. So this is a KQL database, and I'll hit add and configure, and that will add KQL database. Here I'll need to add either existing table name or hit new table button to create a new table. I'll name it as stock exchange. We'll hit next. It says it found 50 events, and then I'll hit finish button to finish the wizard. and then I'll close my wizard. Okay, so this destination have been added successfully as well. Now ingestion is going well, so let me select one of the destination and examine the data tabs. So here we have, if I navigate to data preview, it will show you the data shape for destination. And the data insights will show the progress of your ingestion in a nice graphical chart. The runtime logs tab allows me to see some diagnostic messages and the logs. So that could be useful if my pipeline is having some issues. Right now, my pipeline is green, so I wouldn't see anything here. All right, now that my pipeline is up and running, let me navigate to my KQL database and examine the data. So I'll select my KQL from here, or I can find my KQL if I go to my workspace. So let me go here. So these icons, by the way, represent recently opened items. So that's easy way to navigate to stuff that you recently used. So in my KQL database, I see the stock exchange tables created. If I select that, I'll see row counts. So these numbers should change as I refresh. So you can see that my numbers have jumped. So let's do some basic querying of this. I can click these three dots and select query table, and from here I will select show any 100 records. So that generates a query that I can use or modify, and it will run the query immediately and show the results. Okay, let me close this window. Alternative way of querying the data is using three dots, query table and SQL. So if you are more comfortable with SQL, you can use this command. And that will generate a simple select statement to inspect your results. Okay, now that we inspected the data in KQL, let me close this and navigate to my Lakehouse. I'll select my table, and my data looks good. All right, as a second demo, I'm going to create event stream pipeline to ingest from Event Hubs, Azure Event Hubs. Before I proceed, let me navigate to Event Hubs that I have pre-created, and here I'll need to use shared access policies. If you don't have one, so go ahead and create. I already created my access policy, and when you are creating, you need to specify permissions. For ingestion purposes, a listen permissions is enough. And once you create a policy, make sure that you copy connection string from that screen, which will be needed when you create a connection from event stream to event hub. So let me navigate back to my to my Fabric screen and go to home page, and I'll create another event stream. Okay, now I'm gonna add new source and we'll select Azure Event Hubs this time. The first step, I'll need to provide name for this data source. So from cloud connection dropboard, you can easily select pre-existing connection if you already created connection to Event Hub, or use a create new button to create new connection. So I have a connection already created, but I'll quickly show you how to create connection. So if I click create new, then this opens a window where I can enter Event Hub's namespace, name, name this connection as you want, and then you can select shared access key as authentication, and then name this key name as you want, and then you'll need to provide shared access key here, which could be either one of the primary or secondary keys. For now, I'll just select the connection I created earlier, and I'll select consumer groups for that fabric. I'll leave data format as is and hit add. Now let me go back to my Event Hub and generate some sample data. I can do that by navigating to Generate Data tab, and from here I'm going to select Stocks Data, which will give me some JSON payload, and I will say generate 100 events. So go back to my event stream, select my source and see if my pipeline is able to ingest that. Okay, now I can see my data. So as I mentioned earlier, if you have a JSON data, event stream will flatten its first level nodes. So that's what we are seeing here. If needed, so you can apply further transformations to extract other subfields from here. Now let me add a destination to this pipeline. I'm going to click a new destination and select KQL database. I'm going to use event processing before ingestion this time, and I will name my destination. I'll select my workspace, and I'll select the same KQL database. As for destination table, I'm going to create a new table. So I'll call this stock exchange transformed. I'll apply some pre-processing before writing, so I'll hit done. And before finalizing the destination configuration, I'm going to hit open event processor here. So that opens a transformation design page where the source and destination have been added automatically. This screen resembles the previous screen, overall streaming design screen, in the sense that when you select source or destination, it will show you data sample. Here you can add the transformations. So my source have complex field called price and the market cap. What I want to do is to extract some of the subfield from this field. So by default, all my source fields will end up in my destination, but I can add certain transformation to change that. So manage field transformation is the one that can help me to extract certain fields. So if I navigate to my source node, I will see the plus button, and if I click that, I will see available transformations, and from there I can select manage fields transformation. So with manage field transformation selected, I can add columns either individually using add field button or using add all fields to add all the source fields in bulk. So I'll use this add all fields. That will bring all my columns. As you can see, certain columns are displayed as a table. So that means that they are complex type. Now I'm going to use add field button to bring some subfields. So if I open field, I can expand imported schema, and under price I'll find currency. And I hit add, and that adds currency column. And then I'll hit done. Okay, now that I have configured the basic transformation, I'm gonna confirm and close this window, and then I will need to hit add button to add destination. Okay, now that we learned how to create simple event stream pipelines, let's see how we can ingest into KQL database. So I'm going to navigate to the KQL database that we created earlier. And let me walk you through different ingestion tools that are available from this interface. So most of them will be located under get data command. If I open this, I'll see the two big sections. So the one-time section includes the tools that you can use just for one-time ingestion, and the continuous allows you to build a continuous pipeline, as the name suggests. On the one-time, you have a sample data, which allows you to create sample data easily. There are multiple sample datas. Local files allows you to upload your own file from your local machine. OneLake command allows you to provide paths for your Lakehouse files. And then Azure Storage and S3 allows you to ingest from these locations. So on the continuous section, we have event stream, which will lead to the same experience that we have considered earlier. Pipeline allows you to create data pipeline, which is best for batching workloads. So this will allow you to bring large amount of data to KQL. And the data flow Gen 2 is another similar option. For the purpose of this demo, I'm going to use Event Hubs command. And as a first step, I need to provide table name where I will ingest the data. So I'm going to use new button command, and we'll say, and we'll name my table. The next few steps are similar to the ones that we use to create Event Hub source from event streams. So I can either use create new connection or existing connection if I already have that. So I'm going to use existing connection, and I'll select consumer group. I'll confirm. Okay, so that found some events, and I can see the sample data here. So I'll just hit finish to complete this pipeline. And I will confirm my selection by closing this window. Okay, so once the pipeline is created, I can see that pipeline on the data streams folder. So this is a pipeline that I created earlier from event stream, and this is my new pipeline. and my target table have been created. So if I select my table, it will take some time before some data will show up in my table. As a last exercise, I'm going to demonstrate how to create shortcuts to and from KQL databases. So the shortcuts are a great way of referring to different data artifacts sitting in different places of Microsoft Fabric. So earlier we used shortcuts to refer from one lakehouse to another lakehouse. But you can also refer to lakehouse tables from KQL and vice versa. And it's very easy. To create a shortcut, I'm gonna use new button, and from here I'll use OneLake shortcut command. From here I can create shortcuts pointing to OneLake data artifacts or data sitting in ADLS Gen 2 or Amazon S3. So I'm gonna use OneLake, and we'll select the bronze lake house. Will confirm my selection, and from here I can either refer to manage section, which will be tables under tables folder, or I can expand files and create shortcut pointing to unmanaged section. So I'm gonna select one of the existing tables. So for example, sales table, hit create. It takes a few seconds and my shortcut is ready. The beauty of shortcut is that it does not copy your data, so data will be sitting wherever it is, but you can refer to them as local tables. So as soon as I created shortcut, I can query this table as if it's a local table. So I will click three dots, select query table, and from here I will show 100 records. And that shows me content of this table. One thing to notice here is that once you create your streaming pipelines, they will keep running. I was hoping to find some commands to pause or stop the streaming temporarily, but I couldn't find any such commands, and I couldn't find any information in Microsoft website. So if you happen to know how to do that, I will be happy to learn from you. So that concludes today's discussion. To summarize, we learned creating event stream pipelines to ingest from different data sources. We also explored KQL database. We learned how to run simple browse commands, how to ingest data from different data sources, and how to create shortcuts from Lakehouse to KQL database. I hope this video was helpful for you. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in future videos.